Let's be honest, most trilogies suck. But today I want to look at trilogies in 3 different kinds of entertainment and really find out what trilogy is the best out there. And I think the answer may surprise you. I'm going to start with probably the most popular form of entertainment that came to your mind immediately: movies. Now, for movie trilogies, there's 2 main reasons why they exist. Now, the first reason, and really the only reason we should have movie trilogies, is to tell a complete story, where 3 movies is necessary to complete an overarching story. Now, a second reason for movie trilogies existing is that oftentimes 1 or 2 movies tell a full story with a full resolution, and then studios see how successful these movies are and decide, why don't we make more stories and more movies to complete a full trilogy? And this is oftentimes why movie trilogies suck, with 1 or 2 movies often being more than enough to tell a full cohesive story, but then studios becoming greedy and salivating at the idea of more movies and more money. And this oftentimes just leaves a sore spot for those movie franchises, with 1 or 2 movies not holding up to the original. Okay, I know I've been kind of harsh on movie trilogies so far, but there actually are some banger movie trilogies with no misses. I mean, look at trilogies like Toy Story, Kung Fu Panda, or even Planet of the Apes. For these trilogies, all these movies are great, and they all feel like important installments within their trilogies, all of them having a cohesive impact on the final story being told. And oftentimes, there's rarely a decided best movie from these trilogies, with people having their own opinions on which movie is the best, providing each person with a unique movie that they love. Like personally, Kung Fu Panda 1 is my favorite from that trilogy. But then for Toy Story, the 3rd one's my favorite, and for Planet of the Apes, the 2nd one's my favorite. Each trilogy provides an opportunity to love each movie, while all the other movies are still great. And the best part of these movie trilogies is, they all have a cohesive resolution at the end, where it felt like 3 movies was really necessary to build up the characters and the plot to get to this point that they're at. But then comes the thought process. If you've already dropped 3 banger movies that have done great and made you a ton of money, why not just make more? That's right, you know how I mentioned a series like Toy Story had a resolution at the end that everyone loved, and it felt like 3 movies was necessary? Well, why don't they just make a 4th one, make new characters, and ruin that resolution? Where they create this incredible story with an amazing resolution, and after a decade of sitting with that resolution, they decide, we should change it. And that's what makes Toy Story 4 feel so lifeless. Maybe it's not that terrible of a movie, but by ruining the resolution that we've stuck with for over 10 years, why the hell should I care about what's happening now? And yeah, maybe I am just being nostalgic because I love Toy Story 3 and the original trilogy. And to be fair to this movie, it is well made and it does give us another go around with some of our favorite characters. And it also does provide some characters like Woody with a real resolution that fans may have not felt in Toy Story 3. So at the end of the day, it's just one more movie, and they definitely wouldn't bring back these characters again for another movie after providing another resolution. So why would they do that? I mean, the only thing they would gain for that is money. They definitely wouldn't drop Toy Story 5 this year. And that's exactly the problem with this. You drop another movie after an incredible trilogy that already ruins what you did, and then you see how successful that extra movie is, and then you create another movie. Like, why should we care about these resolutions when we know you're going to tack on another movie after this with another heartfelt resolution? It doesn't matter what these resolutions are, and the whole movie is just pointless at this point. Okay, I kind of went off track there. We're going to get back to movie trilogies. Like, one of the most critically acclaimed movie trilogies is Lord of the Rings. People hype these movies up like crazy. And honestly, I've never watched them, so we're moving on. Another super popular trilogy is the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movies. And everyone knows about the Dark Knight, with Heath Ledger playing the Joker and putting up one of the best performances of all time. This movie is not only considered one of the best superhero movies ever, but just one of the best movies ever. And it's oftentimes placed at the top of Christopher Nolan's incredible catalog. And with all that said, there's still 2 other movies to talk about. And they're alright, I guess. Neither of his movies have ever done anything for me. They're not bad films, but compared to the second film, they just leave a bad taste in your mouth. And yeah, sure, it's still Batman, and there's a bunch of cool elements, like in the 3rd movie when they have Bane fight Batman and do the iconic scene. And in the 1st movie where I don't got anything from the 1st movie. But neither movie comes close to the 2nd one, and it honestly is a really hard carry for me. So I can't say this is the best trilogy of all time. Then next up we got Star Wars. And no, I don't mean that trilogy. And I definitely don't mean that trilogy. I'm going to be talking about the first 3 episodes, as anyone who's under 50 years old will tell you that this is the best trilogy. Star Wars is obviously one of the biggest franchises ever. But honestly, I don't love these movies. The first one's just alright, and sure we got Darth Maul, but besides that, the movie's boring as hell. The second one is a pretty big upgrade, though I don't love it. Final battle is pretty sick, and it does set up the final movie pretty well. And then comes the 3rd episode, Revenge of the Sith. One of the most critically acclaimed movies ever. revealing the truth of how Darth Vader becomes who he is, and is the culmination of everything we have watched before this. And I think it's pretty overrated. I mean, the acting in this movie and overall throughout this whole trilogy is pretty awful, man. And oftentimes characters are just acting stupid in this movie for no reason. And Anakin's descent to the dark side, it honestly feels pretty rushed and forced. Overall, I can see the hype with Star Wars and definitely with this trilogy, but it's definitely not my favorite of all time. These last two movie trilogies though do showcase something. That oftentimes, the first movie is not the best. And I think one of the most impactful cases of this is the Wolverine trilogy, where the first one is god awful. And the second one is actually a big upgrade, with some cool fight scenes, but still not a great movie. But then comes the final movie, Logan, which is the culmination of not only his first two movies, but the entire X-Men series. It really does provide a perfect send-off to this character that we watched for almost 2 decades. And in general, it's just an incredible film. Again, not only one of the best superhero movies of all time, but one of the best movies of all time, and definitely one of my favorites. But certainly, they wouldn't bring this character back again for a 4th movie. Why would they do that? They just had a perfect send-off. No, I'm just kidding. I'll let this final movie slide just because I thought it was pretty funny, and overall, it's pretty entertaining, and they brought the character back pretty well. However, I've yet to talk about the worst kind of trilogy. Yes, a trilogy even worse than the Cars trilogy. A trilogy where the final movie doesn't come out. The first 2 movies of this trilogy are generally perfect. The animation is amazing. The characters are amazing. There's nothing to hate about these first 2 movies, except for the fact that the second movie leaves you on a cliffhanger, waiting for the final 3rd movie. And after nearly 3 years of waiting, as of recording this video, there are still 0 signs of when this movie will actually come out. And though I'm sure that when the movie comes out, it will be just as amazing as the other 2, and it will be easily the best trilogy of all time, I can't sit here and say that until the movie comes out. And who knows when that comes out. The real question is, will GTA 6 or the 3rd Spider-Verse movie come out? But if I had to pick one movie trilogy, I would say the Planet of the Apes trilogy is probably my favorite of all time. Each movie connects to the next so well, and we get to see Caesar and his monkey army develop through each movie, and it's overall just a fun watch, but also just a well-made movie. And hell, they even rebooted the series with the 4th new movie that came out a few years ago, and even that movie was great. But a close second would be the Diary of Wimpy Kid series, and hey, at least they didn't come back and try to reboot the series with the garbage remake that no one asked for. Okay, so we've looked at the best movie trilogies of all time, but another super popular form of entertainment is video games. Now, there's obviously 2 different types of video games: multiplayer games and then story games. Now, for most multiplayer games, there's oftentimes only just one game dropped that's updated over time. Or multiplayer games opt for the other route, where they drop way more than 3 games and create whole franchises, with sometimes even annual releases. And sure, you could say a trilogy like Call of Duty does have trilogies by technicality, but am I really going to ignore the next 4 games that follow up within this trilogy? I don't think that's fair. And honestly, most successful multiplayer video game franchises go way beyond the 3-game threshold here. As with each new console, they feel the need to drop a new game that goes along with that. But after looking at multiplayer games, I wanted to dive into story games and really see what the best story being told here in a trilogy is. As oftentimes, unlike movie trilogies, video game trilogies aren't being pushed out by devs like the studios are, providing a full cohesive story for a lot of these video game trilogies, and giving me hope that they're a lot better than these movie trilogies. But as I began to dive into video game trilogies for this video, I began to realize something. I haven't played any of these trilogies before. Yeah, the thing with video game trilogies is that oftentimes each game is released on a separate console, meaning that to play a trilogy, you sometimes need 2 to 3 consoles just to complete that trilogy. And with these video game prices, man, to complete a single trilogy, you would have to pay $100+ just to do that. And I'm still on the PS4, man. I can't do all that. And oftentimes, a single one of these games can take 10+ hours to complete. To invest your time into 3 whole games in a trilogy can take hours and hours of time. But then comes the dilemma in the fact that I have put chunks of hours into video games. It just hasn't been into these story games. It's been into other mindless slop games. Okay, before we move on to our final form of entertainment, because I don't know any ball about video games apparently, there is one trilogy that I have played. That trilogy is the Arkham Knight trilogy. And when I saw this, I was kind of shocked. Not because I didn't think these were good games. It's because there's 4 games. And when people talk about the Arkham Knight trilogy, they're not just talking about the first 3 games and ignoring the 4th one. They're ignoring the 3rd game and talking about the 4th one. And sure, this 3rd game is a prequel to these games and it's an Origins game, but I don't care, man. It's still the 3rd game in the release. And I don't know, man, maybe it's just me. I feel like it's cheating if you're not including the 3rd game within the trilogy. especially since this is arguably the worst in the entire series. Oh, I also lied, I never finished the 4th game. I thought the Batmobile parts were just too boring. But with all that said, and after looking at movies and video games, I want to move on to everyone's favorite form of entertainment, books. Now, I'll be honest, despite being an avid reader over like the past year, I really haven't read that many book trilogies. But the one thing that is great about book trilogies, and oftentimes they aren't being forced out by studios or devs to be created. It often leaves the author decision on how many books they want within their series. This really does prevent that slop from being pushed out that movies and video games often deal with. And since books have been the same for like hundreds of years, we don't have to see upgraded versions every year that do the exact same thing. Oh, and they're also pretty cheap compared to video games or even going to watch a movie at the movie theater nowadays. But I do want to discuss a book trilogy that I have read, and one that I think is not only the best trilogy within books, but one of the best trilogies in any form of entertainment. Before that, let's talk about some other popular book trilogies, such as The Maze Runner. Growing up in middle school, I read The Maze Runner like 5 times. It was one of my favorite books. The movie was great, and hell, I even watched Minecraft parodies of it. But then the other 2 books kind of stink, so I'm over it. People also hype up The Hunger Games like crazy, and the first book is fire. Unfortunately, I've never read the other ones. And I'm beginning to think I'm not qualified to make a video talking about trilogies after realizing I have no ball knowledge on any of this stuff. Okay, there is a trilogy that I do have ball knowledge on, and that is the Red Rising trilogy, the best trilogy that is out there. These books are incredible, and though they are really popular within the book world, they still don't have as much fame as they should. The Red Rising series is a sci-fi fantasy type series within a future solar system with a color-coded society, where reds are at the bottom and golds are at the top. And we follow our main character Darrow, a red from the mines of Mars, who climbs the ranks to gold and has to infiltrate the society within and end gold tyranny. The writing in these books, the characters, and the overall twists are the best I've ever seen within any series ever. It's like Hunger Games meets Dune, meets Game of Thrones, and meets like Star Wars. And technically, there is 3 books after this trilogy, and even a 7th book coming out this year. But I include that as a separate trilogy currently. And you could honestly argue that that second trilogy is even better than this first one. So if that all sounds sick, which it should, you should check out this series. But after looking at some of the best movie trilogies, video game trilogies, and book trilogies of all time, I began to realize one thing. And that was that maybe trilogies don't really suck after all. And sure, some of them are forced out slop that we really need to stop consuming. But despite spending so much time watching TV, playing video games, and even reading throughout my life, I really have missed out on some of the best trilogies out there. Now, I'm not saying go sit in your room and mindlessly consume this content just because people say it's some of the best trilogies out there, but we spend so much time playing multiplayer games, watching mindless TV shows with 10 seasons, and scrolling on our phones. We should at least be spending that time watching some of the best content that's ever been made. And the problem with the things that we are spending our time doing is that it doesn't leave a lasting impression. Scrolling on Instagram Reels or watching The Office for the 5th time on a rewatch doesn't leave a lasting impression anymore, and it doesn't leave you remembering anything. So that's why I've set a goal this year to consume more critically acclaimed movie trilogies, more critically acclaimed video game trilogies, and consuming some of the best book trilogies out there. However, I don't think I'm finding anything better than Red Rising, and I hope this video has convinced you guys to do the exact same. Anyways, that's all from me, guys. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's my first time doing anything like this style, and I really enjoyed making it. So if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button, like this video up, and comment down below what you want to see. But now I gotta go watch Lord of the Rings and read Hunger Games. Nah, just kidding. I'm gonna go react to my friend's reels.
But I also like dudes that he's not fucking around. He's like, listen, we doing this or not? Let's go. What?